Welcome, guys, to the iPPi Insider. This week, we are being joined by guest Kyle Scott, president of Serhant Ventures, who's responsible for the growth and profitability of Ryan Serhant's digital product business. He joined Ryan's team in 2019 as head of product after creating the #1 best-selling sales course, Sell It Like Serhant, and its membership program. Since then, it's driven expansion over the program, and he is a gentleman from what I can see online, and I've followed him on social. So you're more than welcome, Kyle. How are you getting on?
Good to see you. How are you getting on is a very not English, or at least American English way of putting it, but I'm great. You know, it's a beautiful morning here in Tribeca. I'm right at the heart of New York City right now. I am on the roof of the Serhant house, right? So Ryan's changed the model a little bit, where we're no longer in commercial real estate spaces, we're in houses. Because he sells residential real estate, and it works really well for the future of the real estate brokerage.
Super. So tell me a little bit about the background of this new launch. It's obviously quite a big thing online, and obviously very exciting for all the team.
Yeah. So Ryan left Nest Seekers, right? Recently, right? He's still, all of his old business has stayed there. And they're finishing out all of the old business, but he decided it was time to break out on his own and start Serhant. As you mentioned in my in the bio, what I run for Ryan is his product businesses. So all of the digital businesses, so everything that's around Sell It Like Serhant, which is the best-selling book of that name and the Bravo TV show of the name. And we did a course and a membership program and a coaching program for real estate agents around the world. We're now in 97 different countries. We have over 5,000 agents in the program, and we're growing quite rapidly. Our whole goal is to help real estate agents sell more, generate more leads so they can earn more money and live a better lifestyle. That's the purpose. Then we're launching later in early 2021, January 19th, 2021, Big Money Energy, the book is coming out, and that will also have various digital components to it as well. And then also Ryan's speaking and the merchandise all fall under the Serhant Ventures umbrella.
Super. So we can put them in the link below for anyone looking. I know I've got mine pre-ordered. So listen, how important, let's talk all things, you know, what you've been up to, marketing, you know, your brand strategy, because it's a crucial part of it, and obviously, you know, gravitates a lot of business all around the world. I mean, I was having a look at the ADX last night. It's impressive what you guys are doing. How important is brand strategy in your digital marketing piece?
All about brand. One of the ways that we tell sort of Ryan's story is through his story, right? He came to New York City in 2006 to be an actor, right? That was the dream, was to be an actor, and then that ultimately didn't work out, and he had to find something to do to make money, and that became, right at the bottom of it, this point where his debit card was declined while leaving the food emporium at 59th Street and right on the Upper East Side. And he realized he had to make a decision. He could go home to Colorado, or he could stay in New York City. And then he got his real estate license and learned how to sell, right? And then grew. So if you talk about sort of storytelling structure, which I talk a lot about when it comes to branding, I always encouraging people to think of their brand, think of themselves as a story. And what is the story arc? If you look at every single story, literally throughout history, throughout human time, they all have the same elements, which is once upon a time, right? Something was happening. There was some crisis or some decision point that had to be made that set the whole story in motion. And then the whole story is, you know, plot line, twists, until finally the sort of the third act. Which is starts right at the sort of the major conflict and the major resolution of the story. Obviously, Ryan and the Serhant brand is still really in like the middle of its second act, or really maybe even at the top of its second act. But like, if you look at Ryan's story and how we sell that brand, it's once upon a time I wanted to be an actor until one day my debit card was declined, and then that caused me to get into real estate. Then I had to figure it out in real estate, and it's just been growing ever since.
Super. So it's that emotional piece that connects with a lot of people around the world. They like that story of, and it boils back down to not being that transactional agent, which we see there's a huge percentage of the market just chasing transactions, and they clear their shelves, and they're like,
always about the relationship first. building the relationship first and being a human first, because people don't, right? People don't like being sold, but they love shopping with friends, is what you'll hear Ryan say all of the time. And also remember, people don't buy houses. They buy the vision of themselves in the house. They buy their future self. And no matter what product you're selling, whether it's houses or courses or mugs, you're not actually buying the physical thing. You're buying what the thing will do for you. So for me, as a marketer and a content person, right, what you didn't mention in the story, in my bios, I had a decade-long career at NBC News, which is the #1 network news broadcaster here in the United States, where I learned all about storytelling. And through that, I learned that people connect with those stories through the emotional journey of the characters in those stories. So for example, you're telling a story about COVID, right? You're not just giving facts about COVID. You're telling the story of the characters who were affected by COVID and how COVID changed them. And then you use that as the vehicle to get the information out through the news. Same way in product marketing or brand marketing. You tell the story of a person, of an emotional journey, as the way to then sell the product that you're ultimately selling.
Super. So how have you and the team used, let's say, workflows or automations in your campaigns to really nurture the client relationship?
Great question. Again, through storytelling, right? So when we sell the course, for example, right? The course and the coaching program, there's a journey of telling the story of Ryan, and how by joining this, you'll be able to get a part of that too, right? It tells the story through our email drip campaigns of how Ryan came to New York City, wasn't able to figure it out at first, right? Started his first year in real estate, making just over $9,000 a year. From there, he was able to figured out the process and the systems. And we talked through our email marketing campaign about that journey, until finally the most realized self is, think about you 80 years from now, when you're 80. What is that 80-year-old you going to look back and say, I wish that I had done now? And it's always, right, there's always one answer, especially in this brand knowledge product marketing. It's always, I wish I had done the work now. I wish I had put in the time now, because when you're 80, you're not going to be thinking about the hardship that you have now at in your 20s, 30s, and 40s. You're going to think about all of the great things that came from the work that you put in back then. Now, you can change that. You can use that same exact storytelling structure for any product that you're selling, right? If you want to talk about houses, it's helping the client, right, decide in their house how they're going to visualize their future self, their future family. Not here's some bedrooms, here's some bathrooms, right? It's how can you tell the story around the space, and Ryan talks about this all the time in the course that we have, and it's Sell Like Serhant, the course. It's how can you tell the story about the product that you're selling, the house. So imagine, I want you to picture a house in the Midwest in the United States. Beautiful, beautiful porch, right? Wraparound porch. They have a nice veranda. It's not, here is a porch, you can put chairs on it, right? It's, oh, client, you are having you have young kids now and you need more space. Imagine what's going to happen when you're able to sitting on this porch and watching your kids play in the driveway. Right,
it comes across more authentic. Yeah, you're dead right.
You're
Great
helping
point.
them visualize their future self in the house, rather than look at the porch with the chairs. Right? People don't buy that; they buy their future self.
Yeah, and they buy the relationship of it as well. I mean, even going back to when I was an agent, I kind of studied Simon Sinek, and you're starting with the why. Apple do it. A lot of the most successful salespeople do it. It's that emotional touch point, because then you're allowing them to define between the lines of logic. So it's that,
right.
It's very interesting that it's obviously pulled in a huge audience. I mean, what is he up to now? 1.5 million followers, and
1.5 on Instagram, over 1 million on YouTube. Yeah.
So tell me, what's it like working for the most followed estate agent and for the most successful?
He's brilliant. Yeah, he's absolutely brilliant, and I think his unique genius comes to the creativity between the marketing and the branding. Like really genuine, empathetic, caring person, but then also this unique genius of being able to find the differentiator, the different way of looking at the situation, especially when it comes to like marketing and branding and sales, obviously. But it's what is the thing that everyone is not doing, and how can we do it differently and then amplify amplify the message of whatever it is that we're selling by doing it differently.
Times 10, yeah.
Times 10, yes. Yeah, many times over.
Yeah, great. No, it's really good to see that it's just removing limiting beliefs that people have that are nearly like indoctrinated into that, way of, got to be portals when you're actually then taking leads through, massive leads through social media. Like I saw a YouTube video of him taking in a lead of over 10 million. That's
right.
That must give agents confidence that to get online and just be authentic. And
yeah, so if you look at the YouTube channel, right, it's a great way to showcase properties, right? Because you're doing two things. One, Ryan and the Serhant brand, right? The Serhant ecosystem has a platform that no other real estate company has. What that means is more reach for everyone's properties who will list with Serhant. And then the other part of it is general brand exposure, right? The more followers, the more people who are aware of everything that we're doing here, the more that we can amplify our clients' messages, which is the properties that they have that they want listed.
Super. So in terms of social media, where do you believe, let's say, looking at the agents within Europe and here in Ireland, where do you believe there's the most bang for its buck in terms of, not spreading yourself too thin?
Yeah.
Where do you see the best platforms for property at the moment?
It's always right platform for the right message at the right time. So there is no generic, everyone should be on Instagram, everyone should be on LinkedIn. You want to take a step back and define your mission statement and your brand position, right? Because someone who's sort of the way that they put themselves out in the market is, let's say, selling luxury vacation homes to a more experienced, more wealthy clientele, may be different from someone who wants to sell starter homes to millennials or Gen Z, right? An older, and I don't want to use older, but a more experienced clientele, right, may not be on Instagram, right? That may not be your place to find leads. That may be LinkedIn, because they're professionals, right, who have good income, good jobs, but they're just not into social media, right? So you have to think about, where is your audience hanging out? For that agent who wants to reach and target perhaps people, a more experienced generation who's not on social media, who's not on Instagram, I should say, don't go on Instagram, right? And you could even say, don't go on social media. Is this a more traditional community where people are still reading the paper? Those exist. Those communities still do exist. Is door knocking going to be the best place to go? Is hanging out at the local country club or the local restaurant or the religious center going to be the place to find that type of clientele? Versus you're targeting millennials, Gen Z in your town who are on TikTok, right? They may not even be on Instagram. Maybe you need to be on TikTok to find these people, to find these, people who are in college or right out of what we would in America call high school or first couple of years of college. Different place. So first, take a step back and analyze, who are you and what do you want to do? We go through this in the course, and we go through this in our business builder. We have a 90-page business builder that goes through this entire process of analyzing your why, your work, your wall, your win, what Ryan calls your 4 Ws. Then analyzing your market, then analyzing your leads, then taking a look at how much income you want to make, and then defining your brand. From there, once you have all that set, the brand side set, only then do you make the decisions about the lead generation tools that you're going to use. Are you going to have a newsletter? Are you going to be on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, door knocking, cold calling, right? And then from there, you can start to make predictions based on how many people how many leads you're going to get on those platforms, how you're actually going to execute it, and then how much money you can make based on that lead volume. So it's a whole process.
It's a really great point as well. And it's playing, because I see a lot of agents just they're not playing the medium based upon its behavior.
Exactly.
You see this the whole time on LinkedIn. You see people, putting out content, but it's the wrong content for that platform.
Yeah, we did a survey recently of our audience, and it was like something in the very high 90s, but the only platform that they're using to advertise themselves as agents is free social media, meaning just posting on, typically everyone thinks you have to be on Instagram. Everyone's like, oh, right, you gotta be on Instagram. I don't know if you have to be on Instagram. You have to look at your audience, right? And
Yeah.
I don't know if you should be, you maybe want to be running ads to more like a lead magnet funnel situation where your clientele may not be interested in following you on Instagram, but they are interested in a free home evaluation or a free
Yeah. Facebook.
appraisal. And then that strategy is run ads, get people to sign up for your free appraisal service, get their email address, right? And then email them, schedule a time to meet, figure out how qualified they are, and then put them into your CRM for a regular either text message, email, or phone call follow-up conversations, depending on how that client prefers to interact. An older, a more experienced person, more traditional person may prefer phone call check-ins every month. Someone who prefers, who moves fast and wants to be on social may just want to get texted from you. Figure it out, and then apply your marketing strategy or follow-up strategy to how that person prefers to communicate.
Super. Yeah, it's really important. I'm always batting that drum down with agents to say, you know, if you're making an automation, you need it, you know, segment it based upon their persona. And from that, then, you know, if you need to add a cadence through it, you know, because we have a CRM provider. We provide CRMs to estate agents as well, as the valuation tool. And you can see now the agents who are, you know, more profitable. We did a study on this to see, right, agents who are embracing technology are actually the ones who are, you know, going all in. You know, it was mad to see pre-March. Funny enough, I was actually stuck in New York in March. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I was trying to work Irish hours from New York with the whole COVID thing. It locked down, but just
I hope you didn't
back,
get stuck here for that long.
I was there for what, 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was tough. Yeah.
But in terms of the automation piece, it's really interesting. You say the same thing. You know, it's actually looking at each individual, looking at each, defining the persona, and then working within that persona with an automation based on how they want to be marketed to, as opposed to annoying them. You know,
100%.
So listen, I'm conscious of your time. We're going to do one last few questions. So you know, it seems that you guys are on the edge of branding, and your social media is to a point, I must say, and it's very credible to see. How do you and your team keep up with new platforms and featuring up every day? Because I know for agents, it's quite overwhelming. So how do you manage that? How do you make sure that you're up to date?
Yeah. So assuming, right, the answer to this question assumes that you've done what I suggested earlier, which was you've defined your mission, you've defined your audience, you've defined your brand position, and you've already made a decision about the core platforms you need to be on in order to reach the clientele that you need to reach, right? I'm assuming that you've already done that. Now, the question is, new platform comes along, right? How do you spend time on that platform? Experiment, right? So what I would do is first see, does this platform even make sense for my audience that I've already defined, right? We're not just spending time trying random things, hoping it works. We're saying, how does this new thing relate to my core mission, relate to my possibly expansion plans, and relate to my already existing business? If it makes sense to go into that platform, right? Okay, now we're going to try it. We're going to maybe spend 10% of our time, 5% of our time going and trying to message. If we get some traction there, right? Whether, again, defining on what that means. Usually for most salespeople, it's leads. It's usually leads. Am I using that platform to get leads? Because you have one job as a salesperson, right? Generate leads. So if you want to, let's say TikTok comes out, you're like, does my clientele, so let's assume your clientele is Gen Z and millennials, right? Because that's an easy one for TikTok. There's an obvious yes, maybe. This makes sense for me. Now you're looking at TikTok. You're looking at the amount of spend that you're already putting on platform, amount of time you're already putting there. Does it make sense to spend more of your overall time on marketing? Or are you going to take away a little bit from what you're already doing on, let's assume, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and put a little bit of that time, energy, money into TikTok? Okay. Now you're going to go into TikTok and try it. Did you get any leads? Are those leads worth the amount of time, energy, money, resources that you put in? Yes. Okay, good. Put a little bit more into there, right? Put a little bit more. It's the constant trial and error, because there is no one size fits all solution. Real estate agents love hearing one size fits all solutions. There are frameworks and systems and processes, right? The framework that I just gave you is the framework of look at what you're already doing. Does this new platform match the clientele that I'm already hitting or my expansion plans? If yes, right, that's the flow chart. If yes, now go spend a little bit of time, money, energy, resources on that. That's your framework. Does it make sense for you to go into TikTok? I don't know. What does your business look like, right? So that's how I would think about it.
Yeah, it's a very, very valid point. And it'll definitely resonate with a lot of agents over here. Do you have any other tips or tools you want to share that maybe were in your notes, or you think were good?
I would always just be the most successful agents that we've seen are the ones that systematize and create processes for their lead generation efforts, right? So you're not just shooting in the dark. This is we always like to say this is 2020, or maybe by the time this airs, it'll be 2021. There are so many digital marketing platforms out there that you have no excuse to not know what your lead to close ratio is. You should know, every single agent should know, how many leads am I getting every month? How many of them are qualified leads? How many of those qualified leads turn into appointments? How many of those appointments turn into clients? And your definition of client may vary. Is that an exclusive, right? Like, how do you work in your market? And then how many of those ultimately close? How much time does it take those people to close? How much money is then, because you're going to know how many of those leads ultimately lead to closing. How much money are you spending on getting those leads? Now you know what the value of one lead is, and you can make really smart investment decisions on your marketing efforts because you know the amount that you can spend up to get that lead, because you know how much that lead is worth, right? That's how everyone should be thinking about their marketing efforts in 2020 and 2021. This isn't just shooting in the dark. Hopefully I'm posting on social media and people are coming to me. It's, I posted on social media. What was the actual measurable impact of that post? How many of those people turned into leads? How many of those turned into clients? How many of those actually closed? And then it's how much commission did you get? How much income did you make, right? Make a system out of it and it all flows.
Kyle, thank you very much for your time. I know you're a busy man, and really appreciate you jumping on. We should catch up again. Some really great nuggets in there. Guys, I'll leave Kyle's details in the comments below, along with the links to the new book, which I recommend. Give it a read. It's super. I've picked up a lot of insights out of it. The guys are doing something that's changing the face of a state agency, in my opinion. So, Kyle, thanks a million for your time.
Bye.